Greetings.
Greetings. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, welcome
Greetings.
to Chart.
What about art? This week, we'll be talking about Félix González-Torres.
Who is he? Or she?
We are Finn, Mara, Javier and Christy, and thank you for tuning in to listen to Chart Podcast. We are so stoked to have you here with us and that you take some time out of your day to hear us discuss any things that are happening in the art world. Without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Let's roll.
He is a man. He's Cuban born, and he's. Was he born in America? No, he's not.
I think he was.
Born.
I think he was born in Cuba.
Yeah.
I know that at some point in his life he went to. No, he was born in Miami. Oh no, he died in Miami. Sorry.
Okay.
I had a question actually.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm.
Question
Pickle.
for me is, Javier's getting a hamster. What's it going to be called? The number one name at the moment is Sphincter.
Yes. Pickle is number 2.
What's
I think I would
3?
say. What other names we had? Like T-shirt, thanks to
What's that mean, though?
that
Don't
the
know.
hamster is a T-shirt apparently.
Yeah, it was just because when he was talking about the hamster, I just bought this huge T-shirt, and I was like, "Yeah, you can call it a T-shirt."
So the thing is that I don't do human names for animals. I do funny names.
Okay, so not like Catherine.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't call my hamster like Jeffrey.
Can
no.
you call it Savage?
It's Jeffrey.
Savage is not. No.
Is Jeffrey
mainstream.
even a human name? Do people actually call their children Jeffrey? Because I've only heard it for dogs and other animals.
Well,
Can you call it a legend?
Yeah, but look what happened.
Javier, can you call it a legend?
Nah.
no.
And then you're
Why
like, "Oh my
legend?
God, what a legend!"
What about
Well,
like,
but then if he's called sphincter and he runs away from the cage, it can be my sphincter is loose, and people will laugh.
I just call it colon or
Oh,
pancreas
pancreas. Pancreas is not a bad name.
or cerebral.
Cerebral is not a good name.
Or
I like that cerebral's not a good name, but sphincter is a good name.
Sphincter is a
Yeah.
great name, yeah.
What about appendicitis? Or like
Too long.
appendix?
What
Too
about
long.
what? Maybe it will help people if they'd like to message in with suggestions. If they
Yes.
understood what kind of name you look for, like what are the parameters?
So it has to be not a human name. It has to be witty / funny, unexpected, like sphincter, and have a ring to it. So cerebral is not.
too long.
Okay, what? But then would it be the kind of name which you would then shorten something really cute, like?
No, I don't do that.
No.
I don't do that with animals. Never.
Oh, okay,
Oh, wow.
okay. Wow, all right.
Is it a really British thing to like shorten people's name?
No, I mean, I think every culture ever shortens people's names, but with animals, I'd never do it. Never.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Question.
Yes.
So it has to be
Yes,
witty.
fine.
But how is sphincter witty?
Well, I thought it was very witty because
Why
you can
not
make
like
jokes
hair-
about.
Hairball.
Oh, that's so cute.
Pebble.
Zelda,
Yeah.
the Legend of Zelda.
Yes. Zelda is a person name.
Yeah.
Is
I'm
it?
afraid.
I mean,
Well,
it is.
There's a
But
woman called Zelda. So
is it a boy or a girl that you're trying to get? Or you want it to be gender neutral kind of name?
I think I don't care, really, actually.
Oh,
Gender is a
okay.
social construct, so my hamster doesn't belong to any of them.
Okay, he
His
or
name
she,
is
they,
free, non-binary.
they will not
They
answer
will.
to a gender.
They will not be linked to any pre-established gender now.
Let's just go around and give one name each, I think.
Okay. So
Now or
Christy.
after the episode?
Just now, let's just get this over with. I mean, he's clearly in pain.
Yeah. Okay. So Christy, you're gonna go with T-shirt or change it?
Elbow.
Elbow is a great name.
Great band as well.
Okay, elbow.
I would call it Tiny Teeth.
That is. I will pretend I didn't hear that. You can do better.
Why? It's got tiny teeth.
It's not funny.
Or tiny feet.
Okay, another thing that British people do. I cannot stand when you call an animal like Mr. something. I
I
cannot.
don't like Mr. anything.
Who
No,
the
I hate
hell
that.
calls their pets Mr. something?
Well, I knew a guy who called his dog Mr. Pibbles or something like that.
No, I
And
don't
I
like
wanted to
that
punch him in the
either.
face.
I
Don't
like
do that.
Pebbles.
I
Pebbles.
Yeah,
Pebbles.
Pebbles is cute.
It's such a cute name for like a tiny hamster.
Recently, I wrote down the name Bamboosh.
Bamboosh.
I just think it's cute. It's like impactful.
How do you spell bamboosh?
It would be Bambush, Bamboosh, or Bamboosh.
I like the
That one's a
double.
bit more impact.
Kind of cool.
And
But
bush,
I did think about bamboosh and I don't really like it.
Oh, well, that's my suggestion.
Okay.
And tiny teeth.
Tiny teeth. That's weak, but fine.
Finn?
Finn.
Well, I like ham.
Ham.
Hey Ham,
Because it's a hamster.
come here, Ham.
Oh my god.
Amsterdam. Call him something and then just
Amsterdam.
shorten it.
Or imagine calling it like
Yeah, Parma.
Parma.
And then people go, Parma, why Parma? And you go, because it's a ham.
yeah,
Or like Iberico, but then
Oh, Iberico, sorry, yeah.
or
'cause
like
it's-
prosciutto with pepper.
no, because
So if you
a Spanish one. She
Oh,
wants
yeah,
a
sorry.
Spanish-
Chorizo, yeah.
Oh, chorizo.
Oh, that would be so cute calling him
I'm so happy
chorizo.
because I discovered this supermarket in London called Adsa, and you can buy like proper Spanish food there. So happy.
I'll make
so
sure not to go.
Well, you should, because your food sucks. Ours doesn't. It's the one thing we can beat you in. So thank you for your suggestions, people.
Okay,
Audience, please
comments.
throw in yours. I'll be very
DM
quick.
us.
Which
Yes.
one of the suggestions you like the most?
Or a new, okay, what are we talking about today?
Felix
Felix
González-Torres.
González-Torres.
And yeah, so he's Cuban born, and he actually went to an orphanage in Puerto Rico and studied in San Jorge
It's pronounced
in Puerto
correctly.
Rico. Oh, okay, yeah, that I wouldn't be able to do that, would I? And finally moved to the States in 1979 to New York. And he became like this up and coming artist in the 80s and 90s predominantly, and sadly died in 1996.
He's only 38.
Yeah. He's a young
Tragic
boy,
No man.
but very influential, incredibly impactful work. Mara would love it because it's very personal.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Please
Yeah.
check
There's
out
one
our...
thing Mara likes is sentiments and
Yeah.
feelings.
After
Especially-
this, let's just have a hot talk.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I think I'm ready for
Finn, have you got anything to add before you want to talk about Golden?
Yeah, so his sexual orientation was gay, was influencing his work, as well during the AIDS crisis of the 80s. And he's actually known for his very minimal installations, but I say minimal doesn't mean that they're small. He has some pretty big installations.
What does minimal mean?
You've got to check our What is Minimalism episode.
A whole episode about it.
Yeah.
Pretty
So
much.
go check that out. He was also part of a group, of an artist group in New York, which was called Group Material. And they basically really wanted to make work that would help the community of, well, artists and LGBT people, and use their work to kind of create a coherent community and also for education and cultural activism.
Actually, when you said about like, was it Project Material?
Yeah, group.
Group. I didn't know that he was a part of that, and I thought it was meant to be about like ready-made material or like things that's already around, because
That is
yeah, a lot of Gonzalez-Torres' work are of like common objects, and he would like, it's more about like giving meaning to them, which I suppose it's one of the reasons why it's called like minimalism in a way, or like conceptual, but really it's
Right.
very personal.
I thought that, and not to spoil what we talked about in the minimalistic episode, that in minimalism there wasn't supposed to be a deeper meaning than the artwork
Yeah,
itself.
no.
Yeah.
That's
So-
why I said it's probably more like conceptual.
Right. So we would say that when you say minimal artwork, you mean just that he uses very like, and I don't know how to explain this, but that he conveys
Common-
meaning with very simple objects
Yeah.
and
Like simple constructions, because
yes, it's a simple like, construction. Yeah.
not only minimal, he's also very into the conceptual, because he really wants to address those grand themes of like love and loss, sickness and rejuvenation, gender and sexuality. That's what he always dabbles with. And what he
Right.
also finds really important is kind of the participation of the viewer, that it become part of the work and then also change the work a little bit. And that's where it's really seen in the work that I want to talk about, which was Golden in 1995, so a year before he died. And it's currently in the Guggenheim in New York. And it's this, we'll insert a photograph in the YouTube episode, or check out the Instagram. Mara will pop up a picture.
Yeah, I'll pop a picture up.
Perfect.
Memes as well, probably.
Yeah. And I think now that when I was looking at this work, I think we also saw it at the Venice Biennale, but then in, well, another version, and it was in red. It's this curtain that he made of, here in this case, it's golden beads that he just drapes down. So you can walk through it. And I think in the Venice Biennale, maybe, I didn't see it in person, but maybe you guys went with a group or something.
I don't remember it.
Me neither.
Okay, well, anyway, besides the point then. And it's this huge curtain that kind of divides the room in two, but you can perfectly walk through it. And that's what he really invites you to do, because then the curtain will get a movement in it. And suddenly the room is not divided in perfect two sides anymore, but creates this ripple effect where two sides can merge together. With this work, he really wanted to refer back to the organic and inorganic substances that were associated with battling with AIDS, because the curtain was more of like a membrane. You would see it that way. That would be kind of the membrane or the biological material of cells, like of the human body. And it's kind of this transitory passage from life to death, or from public to private, from the known to the unknown. I mean, I think it's a stunning work. It's this very shiny, really, if it's not moving, if nobody went through it, it's just this really shiny, super thin layer that is in between you and the rest of the room. And then from somebody walks through it, it starts to move, because it creates this ripple effect when you push it aside.
So this does sound like a minimalistic work, because it's not about a clear theme. It's more about making a very simple construction that is very stunning and moving, and you can sort of give it your own meaning. Because other works by him have a much more precise meaning and a very detailed symbology. This is more like something.
I think this is also, there's
make your own experience as you cross it, so to say.
I think this is also very.
I don't know, because
Is it?
I wouldn't say this is a minimal work. Well, it is a minimal work in the sense of that the material. Oh no, because it's a minimal work in the essence of I'm just using kind of this one object that is not, because these are beads that you could buy in the supermarket for kids to make necklaces.
Yeah.
So these are not the typical art material. So in that case, it is a minimalistic work, but at the same time, it holds such an important message for him as well. So I think it's kind of this merging of minimalism and conceptualism that he creates together, especially because the viewer has to participate in the work, or you don't have to, but you are free to do that. It creates this other element. If we go back to our boy Carl Andre, I mean,
Oh, man.
My boy.
You could also, I think, could you walk on the
Bricks? No. Dude, don't touch them.
I don't know. Maybe you could walk over them.
No, some people kicked them, but no, you could not.
Oh, okay.
The kicking was illegal.
So that was really, with Carl Andre, then a displaying of minimalism as using more common objects Well, here the meaning of the artist is much more embedded, as well as the cooperation with the
Yeah.
viewer. So yeah.
So it's definitely leaning more towards like conceptualism and also like the breaking of the membrane also could mean so many things because his partner and him, they both are AIDS positive. So it's kind of like how every single time you enter that space or enter the you're kind of penetrating the cells of like healthy cells and kind of destroying it in a way which kind
Ah.
Oh, I see.
Oh, I didn't look at it that way. Nice. Nice.
Because it links to other works that he did as well, which is the ones that I want to talk about, the candy spills. I think he did a total of 19 of them, and it's as banal as a bunch of candies put into a corner of different colors.
Oh, right.
They're all wrapped in like sellotapey wraps, so they're like a little bit transparent, and the viewers or audiences are invited to tick the candies, and the museum would keep filling them up, but then each of the spills have a certain weight that he wanted them to be. So there's this one particular one which is 175 pounds in 1991, which is when his partner Ross Crawford died, and he was 175 pounds in weight. So every single time you as a viewer goes and take a candy away, it's kind of like you taking a part of him away.
Yeah.
And up until the point where it's completely empty, that kind of represents him being gone and like died.
Like is withered.
Yeah. And there's also another one where it's like around 1,000 pounds of candies just laid flat on the surface of like a floor, and it's kind of trying to represent the amount of medicine that they take, and you know how the symbolism of a candy and a medicine sometimes could be really similar, and it's kind of also about how every single time you take something, you kind of contribute to, not necessarily contribute, but kind of involved in the part of making AIDS a little bit more accepted, and kind of you're more compassionate towards it because you're kind of having a little bit of the experience of always needing to take a meds and stuff like that, and also like, you know, appearing and disappearing, and it's often like a constant supply. Yeah, so these two are like the two candy stores that most struck me.
It was so like misunderstood, and much more than it is now, where you know, like, you know, a couple of celebrities or whatever would go and like shake hands with AIDS victims, and be like, oh my god, like what are they doing? Almost like it was contagious, literally, by shaking somebody's hand.
Yeah.
So there was probably at the time that was like also what was on his mind, because it was such a well like reported on illness, but probably, you know, they were spreading lies, like, you know, like they told my mum at school not to sit directly on the loo ring.
Oh,
so like you could get it that way, like, you know, anything was spread, like very negative connotations were attached to it.
Well, just look at what happened with COVID. I think whenever there's like a pandemic of something, people just lose complete sense of logic, and they get superstitious about the way to get it. It's a form of paranoia.
And then there's also people kind of testing the boundaries with people, you know, back in like March or April, there was like people licking the stuff on the shelves and like licking a toilet seat, and both of them actually got COVID.
So random.
I know. It's so grim. But
yeah. AIDS must have been a similar vibe. Like, people would be probably very afraid of it.
Well, I think a similar vibe, maybe not so much, because now we are like all in this situation.
Yeah, that's true. That was different with AIDS. But I mean the sense of that this enemy that people didn't really understand.
Yeah, that's true. I think going back to Felix, I think he's a good example of what we are trying to do here with the podcast. I mean, if I first would look at his work without any context,
Right.
without any kind of background in arts or knowing how to approach the contemporary artwork, I would be like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is a curtain, or this is just like a pile of. Why is there a pile of candy?"
Yeah, it would be a bit like, oh my God, like someone's just tried to do something different that has no background.
Yeah, but then, you know, where you can push yourself that extra mile and investigate the work.
Yeah.
So you have this whole background of the candy with his partner being 100, what was it,
175
75 pounds.
pounds when he died. All the candy represents that weight, and then it just becomes such a new level that you can enter.
It's a new way, a new perspective in terms of symbolism, and it's a symbolism that you definitely have to like look into, instead of seeing it at a surface level.
Yeah.
But even seeing it as a surface level, you are technically participating in the act of, you know, taking
away
someone's
from the
life or contributing to it.
I remember that the first time I came across Félix González-Torres was when I was at uni, and I thought, what a dumbass artist! Like, I could do this. And then I think now, Perfect Lovers is one of my favorite artworks ever. You know, the two clocks that are supposed to eventually be out of synchrony, even though they're like almost perfect. I think it's such a powerful thing to look at and to understand. And back then I was like, ugh. So yeah, but going back to what Finn said, I think Felix is one of those guys that really make you feel why contemporary art is amazing in some way.
Yeah, I think
it's not even about how amazing it is. It's like it makes you feel like when you know about what it's about, you get goosebumps.
Yeah, and a completely different goosebumps that you would get from Da Vinci. It's like it basically induces a feeling in you rather than provoking beauty or whatever. But it's
it is about aesthetics, I think, in some way, a little bit. If you would look at the clockwork, I mean, if you just look at it objectively, there are two clocks. But at the same time, when you get the meaning, it's such a beautiful work, and it takes the meaning of aesthetic in such a new direction that it, you know, adds how it makes you feel. Then, for example, a Da Vinci, I mean, it's a beautiful work.
It's also so simple. It's just two clocks.
Yeah.
And it's such a precise detail that one will go slightly faster than the other, and it's maddening to think about it.
Yeah, there are not many artworks that I come across where I have that same feeling that it just grasps me.
Yeah,
very strong and simple as well. I think the last time that I had that was a friend of mine. She had her stepfather died of a muscular disease. I don't know the right translation in English, but it's just that over time your lungs they're not working anymore. And she took one of his old portraits of him as, you know, when he was younger, 20 years younger, because he was an artist himself. And then she used his ashes in the darkroom to cover his face. But then when she would light the paper, you have his silhouette and you have his body. His face is white because the ashes are on top. And she just put that one picture, which is about like 15 centimeters on 15 centimeters, in one room and then one spot on it. And when you walk into there, it was like, oh wow, this is such a strong work, yet so simple in execution and in material, maybe not.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Felix?
I love simple works. I don't like anything complicated, and I love that surprise when you're like, oh God, like that is such a simple, random, like Martin Creed kind of artwork, or Mark Quinn, and then you learn a deeper meaning, like something that you're like, oh wow, like that is very significant, and it's something that's aesthetic for people who maybe don't know about art. It's so aesthetically nice to look at that it pulls you into the story ultimately, even though you know, it might look like a bit of like sort of commercially that kind of art. But I love that when there's a true reason behind it.
I think it makes you ask questions like, why is it there? Why does the candies keep getting filled up? Why is he letting people walk through that beads thing when art often is something that you put on a pedestal?
Right.
And you can touch it and you can feel it. You can, you know, hear the clanging of the little beads, and you can hear the unwrapping of candy. And also there's this one work that I don't really remember. What is it, about the lights one? The light bulbs that we saw in Sotheby's?
Oh.
Or was it Sotheby's? Or was it Amsterdam?
I don't think it was Germany.
I think it was Amsterdam.
Yeah? It was with Marcus, I think.
I think it was Amsterdam. In the first museum we went to see that, we were all like falling asleep.
Yeah, and then there's like this whole section dedicated to like.
I think it was Amsterdam. Yeah.
Like I don't remember much why.
Yep.
Like what exactly was it about? We were so tired.
We were like the things that I was falling asleep. Like half of that time I was like forcing my ass to stay awake because I was destroying. We basically woke up at 5 a.m. to travel to Netherlands, and then we spent the entire day in a museum. So by the end of it, we were like crawling.
I think it was in the Stedelijk Museum, the one with the building is like a bathtub.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good museum. Go there if you can. It's open now. So.
Yeah, and I think like one of the works, the light bulbs, are called America, and it's also about AIDS. I don't quite remember what it's about. Like again, like it's kind of one of those things where.
Now I remember. It's the one that hung from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Right, and you would wait until each of them would like basically turn off naturally.
And weren't the ones on the floor?
Yeah, it was like a thread of them, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it hangs from the kind of like ceiling, whatever, and then it kind of swirls down in the end. And I think it was like they were talking about how it's supposed to naturally eventually go out, just like life.
Yeah, but that poses a question. I wonder if he left like instructions on which candy to use for replenishing and which light bulbs to use to replenish it, because you know there's this whole debate that if you change an element of the artwork, it's technically not the artwork unless the artist has given instructions of it. So imagine the company that makes the candy is like, yeah, we broke, so it's over. Does the candy disappear forever?
Isn't that the same issue that they're having with Dan Flavin's?
And Carl Andre's bricks.
But apparently with the neon thingies, he bought like a 10 billion light bulbs, like his heirs or whatever, bought a shit ton of them, so they can replenish him for like 100 years from now on. So
I don't know.
He's safer now.
With Torres's work, especially with the light bulbs, because I mean they are meant to go out. So
yeah,
right.
Maybe he said just let them go out. I think that would be really strong to have that.
Yeah.
Have that there and all the light bulbs are out. You know, like,
so that one day will be only one light bulb left.
Then we have
or
to
none.
be like
10,000.
Well, yeah, eventually none, but I mean like one day is going to be like the last one. People are going to be like seeing it wither. Like in Dark Souls, they'll be like the last light.
Not to mention Tracy Emin again, but her tent, everyone I ever slept with, which we'll be discussing next week. That tent burnt down in 2004 in a fire, and Sarchi, it was like Sarchi, I can't remember the name of the place, but one of his warehouses burnt down, so that burnt down. And he was like, oh my god, please could you make another? And she was like, no way. So she's never remade it. So I think to her, like in that moment it's meaningful for her to make. It's not the same thing when you redo it later on, like it's not got the same things attached to it. But also she hated him because he did like branding or marketing for Margaret Thatcher, and like there was like I think she just also hated him. But I think it loses its meaning when it's done later.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I completely agree that just from my personal practice, works that I made 5 years ago, even if they would go I mean, the prints got destroyed or anything, or the negatives get destroyed, I wouldn't make them again because I evolved as an artist. I evolved as a human.
Yeah.
In those 5 years, so I don't feel the same way as I did then.
But also for someone like her, where people spend a lot of money on those kinds of works, how do you value it when it's just a remade copy? Because it's not the same as having the original.
No, that's true.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, it depends. Imagine there's only that copy surviving, and suddenly it becomes incredibly valuable because it's the one last. Like, think of all the sculptures that now we know are Greek, but we only have Roman copies left. They're just as good as them. Or
yeah, but then when you find an original,
you'll
everyone's
not,
like,
you'll not find the original though. Probably not.
But I think that
that's such a negative attitude. Like, only a can-do attitude in the Chart podcast.
Buy a shovel, go to Italy, like find them.
Start digging.
My body's not made for that. I'm not made to shovel.
Well, tell that to your sergeant when the war starts and we need to dig trenches.
I think when the war would start, I would be more of a office administrative person.
That's a great question to start an episode. Like, if the war started, what would we do in a platoon?
That's a good question.
What kind of podcast are you? So we're an art podcast, but today we're going to start with
I think I would be a good mine detector.
What's a mind detector?
Like the guy who goes with the
metal detector.
The metal detector finding mines, like.
Oh, I thought you said mind detector.
Yeah, I'll be like.
I was like a mind reader.
There's a sniper there. Yeah.
I didn't know that it was a Marvel version of a war.
Well, yeah, it's called.
Isn't it going to be nuclear anyway? Like, people won't actually fight, so.
Well, but someone has to rule the wasteland, and that's when we start our gang of punk bikers, Mad Max punk bikers.
Wait, do we need to learn to bike?
Well, we need to look punk. So first of all,
does everyone have a driver's license?
Get shaved.
Right.
I do have a driver's license.
I don't have a moped.
Driver's license?
I don't have a moped one, but I think it's easier to get a driver's license and then do moped on the side.
Yeah, maybe.
I think you can drive some motorbikes with the normal license.
I get it. I'm gonna get a Lime scooter.
That's it.
That's gonna be us in the wasteland. Like, wait, mine is out of battery. Let me find another one.
Those are so fun though. Like, I really, really want one. Like,
yeah, they are.
Before coming here, my grandpa said on the phone, "Hey, would you want me to get you one of those electric scooters so you can go places?" And I was like, "No, it's fine," because they're like, I don't know how expensive they are. They're like over $1,000. And I was like, I wouldn't even use it enough.
So
they're really expensive to get, like, a proper.
In Romania.
No, I think generally in life, but also you get them everywhere here, like off the street, just like we did in Germany.
Amsterdam.
But I would never drive one in London. I would be too scared of being
I'd rather
run over by a bus.
Yeah, probably.
It's actually fine. It's actually fine because like you'll be using the bike lane.
Well, is it because when I ride the bus to go to Sotheby's, like I see these bikers like biking in like this narrow space between a bus and like a parked car, and I cannot understand how they're not scared to dying. Like
you are scared. I can tell you are scared.
You're more scared of unemployment, so you keep biking.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm more scared of like saving money so I don't run out of food and I can still buy Deliveroo. So
this is what the system does to us. Like we value our jobs more than our lives.
Oh, I want to go back to the military question.
I could be a nurse, I think, if I really put my mind to it. Because as I'm thinking now, I've taken stitches out by myself. I don't mind blood. I don't mind
Needles.
I don't mind that stuff.
You're gonna be like stitching together like people without legs. Are you ready for that?
I think I could do it. A bit of tequila in the back room, and I could do it.
Right.
And you can feed them a little bit of tequila as well.
Yeah.
And that thing where you know that thing, and then I throw the tequila on the wound as well to disinfect. Yeah. That thing where like men and women fall in love with the person who takes care of them.
Yeah.
I'd have so many boyfriends. If the military are listening, please put me into that role if that were to happen.
Okay.
Really?
What?
I think I would be a general.
You can't just be a general. You have to start somewhere small.
Yeah.
No, we're in a platoon, Finn. We're in the field.
Yeah, but I think I would be the one that decides what we're gonna do.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
right.
you'd be a good like manager.
Yeah.
Executive manager of the platoon.
Let's
Yeah.
go left or something.
Yes, Sergeant. I would
Can
love
you
to.
deal with stress or like, can you deal with that?
Do you have a powerful shouting voice?
Yeah.
I can shout.
Because you need to shout over like machine gun fire and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can shout.
Okay, good. Then you're the
People will be
sergeant.
like, whose voice is that? It's so nice.
Not because I'm
The enemy's like, oh wow.
Wow.
Cease fire. What? Oh wow. Can you record it? Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be me. It's not because I'm deaf that I cannot shout. I can shout pretty well.
Right.
And stress.
Awesome.
What
And-
else?
Christy, what would you do?
Don't know.
I think
Christy, why don't you just join me?
Yeah, I'll be a nurse, or I'll draw smiley faces on people's dead knees.
Oh yeah, nice. That's exactly
You
what
can
they're
like,
looking for.
like when they have to cut their limbs, you
She's
have to
got-
take and
she
stop
has-
them and
She has a smiley face right now drawn on her knee. Is that drawn or is that a tattoo?
It's just I just drew it with the lipstick
Wow,
because
that
I
would
just
be
had
good.
it around.
I think Christy would be great for decoy. Like just
What
to
does that mean?
What does that mean?
What is that?
layer.
so she can put a smiley face on her knee, right? And you know that guy with the sniper who's like putting the fake helmet, so like the enemy fires and the sniper knows where the bullet is coming from. She can be like, oh, and then the sniper sees the smiley face and she's like, oh, and they shoot, and the sniper, who would be
What
me, I
is-
guess.
What did you say? Convoy.
Decoy.
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 What is that?
Decoys.
Envoy, decoy, and convoy.
So
Why is it the same?
envoy is the guy who goes to the enemy camp and be like, can we have a peace, please?
Oh, that's nice. Who
Decoy
could
is
do
the
that?
decoy is so you put Christy in the field so the enemy look at Christy and meanwhile I shoot them from behind.
But Finn could do the
So I'm like
peace
covering
thing, no?
them.
Oh yeah, I can wave up sound of my voice and then
You could do the peace thing. Like, hey, we don't need to do this.
or do the yeah.
You're like the bard. You can like sing the songs to like improve our performance in battle.
Great. In the trenches with like
Yeah.
being annoying.
I still think it's going to be online, the war, I feel. And, just like nuclear.
Online, I would that would be so funny if wars were online.
Like, everyone has to get a PS4 or 5.
Yeah, imagine like all these like
whatever the
12-year-old
PS.
kids like destroying or like adults, completely destroying them.
A Twitch account or a Steam's account.
Yeah, all of them like Fortniting, like teabagging them. Like that'd be great.
Computing thought about Felix.
Not
Check
about
out-
the war.
Check out Felix.
Oh, wow.
I think that we would be crushed by the enemy, and
What?
I think that we would lose completely.
What does this got to do with Felix?
Oh, I thought we were having concluding thoughts about the war.
About the war.
Yeah, about Felix.
He has a body now.
I think that Felix is the guy you want to start with if you are not into contemporary art and you're wondering why.
What it
contemporary
means? What's the point?
Why people actually find meaning in it. You should look into Felix and research a bit about his works and realize what we mean when we say that contemporary art is all about
No.
the meaning behind what you're looking at and not necessarily the aesthetics of what you're looking at.
And he's a great guy to get into conceptualism.
And
Because
also
it's,
to see that contemporary art is also linked to events that happen in the real world.
yeah,
Right.
because that one is very, very, very linked.
I think an interesting way that to differentiate contemporary art from like medieval, Renaissance, classical art and all that is that those were more about representing themes that everybody knew about, and contemporary art is more, well, everybody, like the intended audience knew about, like mythology, religion, whatever, and the contemporary art is more about opening debates about things that are maybe not necessarily
Like socially relevant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
I
about
think
pushing the boundaries, not
It'd
like
be super interesting to do an episode, like I think Finn suggested in the past, about even like artists like Keith Haring who like tackle those sorts of issues that were very, very important in the 80s and 90s. And like,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
We love you. Please
Love you.
to tweet us, Instagram us, whatever, to tell us that, tell us the name for Javier's hamster, which is the only thing on our minds.
I'm
And
counting
also,
on you.
please follow us on YouTube, subscribe, and follow us on Spotify and the other things, because that's more meaningful for us. Thank you.
Yes, our self-esteem depends on it.
That could potentially bring us some revenue, and we want to keep doing this.
Yeah, it would be nice.
It would be
nice.
great.
And
Yeah.
leave a review. Even if
Yeah.
it's a bit mediocre, just leave a review.
Even if you hate us, we will meme about it. Just put it.
We'll pay you about £5 to leave a good review.
I'll pay you 10
DM
for
me,
giving a bad review.
DM me, and we'll sort something out.
Great.
Good.
Not me, Chart.
Give us like.
Oh,
Okay, we love you. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
love you.
See you next week.
Goodbye.
Next week.
Hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as we enjoyed making it. If you especially loved our episode, we would love it if you gave it a 5-star rating and a review, and even consider taking a screenshot of this episode and posting it on your Instagram stories. That way we know that you love it and other people can find our podcast as well. If you're not subscribed yet, again, what are you doing? Subscribe and get notified every time we publish a new episode. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Chart Podcast, and if you want to see our faces while we talk, find us on YouTube at Chart Podcast as well. We are Chart, and we'll hope we'll meet you again at some point in the near future. Take care. Chart out.
Love you.
See you.
Love you.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.